What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Cracka Crumbs update. And you have to bear with me a little bit. Kind of one-handed today. uh, Basically, I had the day from hell. Absolute hell. Um, Gonna get into that a little bit because it might make me feel a little better. Basically, give you the rundown. Saturday morning, got up early. Like to watch cartoons like the old days, but since there's no cool cartoons on Sunday morning anymore, I usually throw in something like Mario Brothers or Sonic the Hedgehog or Mortal Kombat or stuff I used to watch on Saturday morning, the good old days. Watching my cartoons, enjoying myself, everything's going great, nice day. Yeah, I get a call because I wanted to place an order on something online, and it wouldn't go through with my bank account. And I'm like, all right, wait a minute, what the hell? What's going on? Call my bank, and then my bank claims that they froze my entire account because apparently my account was hacked, and they used about $2,000 on something like Africa or Australia or whatever the hell it was, buying a lion's head. I don't know what the hell it is. So the bank froze my account, which is good because it makes it look like they're doing their job. But of course, they waited for them to use $2,000 before they did it, and so now my bank account is entirely screwed up. I'm not allowed to take any money out. They took, they're not refunding my $2,000 until they do an investigation. So who knows how long that's going to take? So I'm screwed. So that was fun. Then my fiance's at work, and I didn't bother to tell her that yet because it's just a fun time. And I decided to make dinner for us. So I'm like, you know what, be cool, have dinner ready when she comes in. Be the nice fiance. I was making this stir fry thing that I like to make, and I'm quite good at. My fiance actually loves it. It's quite good. I'll have to give you the recipe if you guys want it. Making the stuff, and I made more than I usually do. I don't know why. Just wound up being that way. As I'm done cooking the damn thing, I take it off the pan with the pan to put into a bowl. And as I'm lifting it, it's a little heavier than it normally is. So but big deal. I'm still able to lift it. It's not like it weighs like I'm picking a truck up. And I'm moving the pan over, and all of a sudden my wrist pops out of its socket for some reason. And me being stupid, I go with my other hand and grab the bottom of this metal piping hot pan. So it burns my entire hand going all the way down. I'm like, alright. And as I do that, this hand decides to go like this, and it spills the stir-fry sauce boiling hot all over the top of my hand. And it actually melted my skin off to the bone. My knuckles were showing and everything. It was pretty nasty. Just as my fiance walks in, and I'm holding my hand like this, and I'm friggin' so damn painful. And I didn't want to touch it because I'm like, I don't want to mess with it. And I'm running underwater, and which was smart and bad at the same time. It felt nice, the cold water, but it was bad because my skin was just like flying off with the water. I'm like, oh my god. And then I started to get like I was going to pass out. It was so bad. And of course we run to the emergency room, and I brought comics with me, which I never do. I guess I was in my delirious state because I don't like to bring my comics anywhere other than my house. And I figured I'd be there forever, but because it was so bad, they actually rushed me through the thing to take a look at it. And the nurse is taking the gauze pads, and she's kind of going like this, trying to see, I guess how they're gonna do it or whatever, fix it. And every time she would put the stuff on my hand, it would peel more skin off. And she's like, all right, I can't put the stuff on there. And they were supposed to put some kind of like this cream stuff on there, burn cream or something, at least to not so it doesn't get infected, I guess. And I'm sitting there, and I got my comics in my hand. I'm focusing on the comics because I'm just like, I don't even want to look at this. And of course I'm right-handed, so that's a lot of fun. And the doctor comes in, and they keep asking my blood type, which I really don't even remember, because my blood actually, quite honestly, is extremely, extremely rare from what my mother used to tell me. And I didn't believe her until I actually had to do a physical one time, and they had to take blood. And the doctor, I remember saying like, oh my god, they're like, looking at me, and they're like, we don't have any of this, you should really donate blood and, save your own ass, because there's not many places that can get my blood. But the fun side is a lot of people don't believe that it happens, but until they actually see it. So I'm not expecting anyone else to believe it, but because of my lovely rare blood, I'm actually able to, not instantaneously. A lot of people get confused because they think I'm Wolverine, but I heal a lot quicker than normal folks, I guess. And I'm also able to shrug off, like, colds and stuff like that. Don't know about diseases because I've never pushed it that far to see if I can shrug off diseases, but I don't want to even attempt to try that. But it's weird because when I get a cut, for instance, when I got, you can't really see it too much, but there's this big circle right here. My friends from high school remember this one. I've actually told this story too. In high school, I got stabbed through the forearm with a pencil. Uh, that day, I pulled the pencil out, blood leaking out everywhere. I kind of put pressure on it, stopped it, whatever. The very next day, it was a scar, and this went completely through my forearm. There was no marks, just a little scar. So I do heal pretty damn quick. Um, Same thing with this thing. That's what's funny. Normally, I don't really heal quick from burns or bruises. That seems to be my weakness. If I get bruised, it takes a while to heal. If I get burnt, it takes a while to heal. But cuts and stuff like that, it's pretty quick. But depending. I mean, I had one when I was in the hospital, when I broke my leg. This thing cut right across my forearm here. And it took a couple of days because it was such a deep laceration. It was open so wide that it took forever. But they didn't even stitch it, because when they were going to go stitch it, it was healing itself over, and they're like, oh, okay, it's not as bad as we thought. But it's not instantaneous. So again, I don't want to be. Everyone's like, oh, you're so full of shit. It's not like Wolverine. Like if I get stabbed, 2 seconds later, I'm not perfectly fine. It takes a little while, but a day, two, give or take, sometimes a week. But anyway, the funny thing is, I said this was burnt to the bone on my knuckles. Like this wasn't. My fingers weren't too bad. They were burnt, and this was burnt. But my knuckles, for some reason, in the back of my hand took the brunt of it. But anyway, I'm in the doctor's office and I'm holding my comics and I'm focusing on that. And the one doctor comes in and he's kind of jabbing me with all this shit. And they're like, they're giving me painkiller stuff, like, the top-notch stuff. And unfortunately, another drawback of having, I guess, rare blood is that I kind of shrugged that off too. So it kind of sucks. Like, they were giving me this kick-ass painkiller stuff, and it only worked for like about 3 seconds. And then I was like in pain again, and I'm sitting there and I'm holding my hand. The guy's like, he's like, there's no way in hell. He's like, that. And I'm like, so, and he's jabbing my hand and peeling the skin back with like a scalpel. And if anyone has ever broken their bones, know that when a doctor touches your bone, the amount of pain that shoots through your face. I basically wanted to pick the guy up with the other hand and just snap his neck, because that's how bad it hurt when he was jabbing the bone with this needle. And so you gotta be kidding me, man. And this burn specialist guy comes in. Extremely cool guy. He was a young guy. He was probably maybe my age, well, a little younger, maybe 29, 30, give or take. And he sees I have my comics in my hand. He's like, oh, he's like, you like Spider-Man? He's like, hey, he's like, I've been collecting comics for a while. He's like, I actually have Amazing Spider-Man #1. And I'm like, get out of here. He's like, no. He's like, I really do have it. He's like, I got to get it graded. And I'm like, all right, And it was cool because I was focused on talking about that, and I didn't worry about my hand. And he goes and takes a look at it, and he's like, all right. He's like, lifts up my hand like that, and you could see my knuckles. You could see like my I guess my tendon or whatever, and nerves and whatnot. And he's just like, woo. He's like, what'd you do? And I told him what happened, and he was like, wow. He goes, that's pretty impressive. And I was like, yeah, great. I can look through like friggin' Eric Draven and the Crow, like, woo, and it sucked because the stuff they had on there, I just kept leaking through like the bandages. So every like 5 minutes they're changing my bandages, they're putting stuff on there, and he put this like blue, white looking cream on there that was just fantastic. Numbed the whole thing, like just numbed my entire hand, but it was like an I don't know what the hell it was. I couldn't even tell you. I was so out of it. I'm just like, all right, and it wasn't even paying attention because the pain was just ridiculous. Puts this stuff on there, and my hand is like soaking it up, and I was like, you want to throw some more on there? He's like, he's like, that shouldn't be, that stuff should stay on there for a while. You should be fine. My hand soaked it up, like within like 10 minutes it was like gone. The guy's like, wow. He's like, that's rare. I've never seen that happen. And wrapped it up, and he's like, all right. He's like, you're probably gonna have to stick around for a while because we have to look at it and talk about, might have to, do surgery on my hand. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And I'm sitting there in the emergency room for like 6 hours, and I'm like, I'm just freaking tired, and I'm reading my comics, which was a good thing. I got a chance to read a lot of comics while I was sitting there, and I'm sitting in the emergency room, freaking on the bed, and I got my hand like this. It's like wrapped up in a different thing, and they got it kind of elevated like this for some reason. I don't know why. I guess maybe something. And I'm wiggling my fingers, and I'm tapping, and and the doctor comes over. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, nothing. I didn't even know I was doing it. Just like wiggling. And they undo the bandages, and it was actually healing. It wasn't like I said, not instantaneous, not like it's but you could see where it was like almost like scabbing over. It was weird, and the doctor, of course, then when you're able to do something like that, I guess like a miracle, not really a miracle. I'm not gonna say it's a miracle, but I guess luck. Let's put I guess I'm lucky that way. But when something like that happens, try to keep it to yourself, I guess, because doctors now, they turn you into guinea pig. Basically, for the next 2.5 hours I was there, I was a guinea pig. They were jabbing me with different things and trying to figure out why that was happening and why I'm able to, why my fingers weren't burnt as bad as they were when I came in, and why my hand wasn't burnt as bad as it was when I came in. And the cool doctor came around. He's like, wow. He's like, yeah. He's like, you weren't kidding when you said you heal fast. I'm like, don't look at me, doc. I was like, it's in the blood, I guess. It's in the DNA. So they look at my hand and decide that I don't have to stick around after all, and they rewrap my hand with all this stuff, which sucked because by the time I got home, it was already drenched in the bandage. They gave me a whole big thing of bandages and gauze pads and said like every couple hours I have to change the bandage and so on and so forth, and I have to go back in a week or so to have them take a look at it. But it hurts, but it's healing. I can feel it. I can actually feel it stitching itself over. It's the creepiest thing. But anyway, I left with my lovely shitty day, the day from hell. It gets better though. It gets better. Because my account is frozen and I'm not able to take any money out. My fiance offered. She's like, we can use my debit card or whatever, and you can get your comics, this week, that way. So I called my friend from Bailey's. I was like, Trong, I was like, can you do me a favor? I was like, can you pull these? I was like, because I don't want to get to the point where, like Catwoman, and this, like the last Fantastic Four, the last Iron Man, the last Captain America, a couple others. And he goes, I'd love to. He goes, but we're already sold out of them. I'm like, how are you sold out already? I was like, it's not even, they don't come out till Wednesday. I was like, how are you? He's like, reserves, man. He's like, reserves. He's like, everyone came in 2 days ago and just reserved pretty much everything we had with that. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So then I called up a mock time, which I go to, and of course they're out of everything. And I'm like, ugh. So now I was at the point where I'm like, all right, I have to. Even Collector's Kingdom, they were out of everything, and I'm like, it's really starting to piss me off. I mean, that it just, and then it's funny because a lot of times when I go in there, not Bailey's, but like a lot of times, like, oh, we don't do reserves, or Collector's Kingdom, oh, we don't put stuff aside, unless you call us that day or whatever. Yet they seem to do it for everybody but me. But anyway, so that was fun. And then I went on to Midtown. I'm like, you know what? My friend's like, just go to Midtown, and because I'm getting kind of annoyed with Midtown because they're taking forever. I still haven't got my package. This is almost like a week and a half now. But they always say 3 to 12 business days, so the weekends don't count. Well, obviously Sunday doesn't count, but the weekends don't count. So who knows when that comes around. But anyway, went on there and went to order some stuff, and of course they're sold out. So it's been one of those days. But let me show you. I'm going to do somewhat of a very quick review, but I want to go into some other things. Because I'm trying some new stuff that might actually help me out, because I'm getting old and I'm getting forgetful, and I'm getting to the point where I'm like, I don't know what's in that. But anyway, I got a chance to read in the emergency room Amazing Spider-Man number 386 with the Vulture. It's funny because this one is from '94, and as is this one. This is the part two to it, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, I was like, from '94, I was like, why didn't I get that when I was, a kid? And like, why didn't I pick that up? Then I remembered, of course, the bad memories, I guess. In '94, I wasn't actually able to collect any comic books because the comic book store I originally worked at, FunQuest, wound up closing down pretty much almost like about 2 weeks before this actually came out. And then the comic book store, when I lived in Lindenhurst, that I was going to, Bailey's, its original location, got into a pretty bad fire and burnt to the ground. So I was screwed because the only two comic book stores I knew of at the time, and of course I didn't drive. I was only 13 or 14, and my comic book outlet was cut off because there was no internet back then. So I was screwed. So from '94 to '95, I had no way of getting any comics. And then in '95, I wound up getting a girlfriend, and I was saving all my money for that. And of course, even still, the comic store I had worked at never reopened, obviously, and Bailey's didn't open. And I'm like, all right, that sucks. I guess I'm done with comic books. And so from '94 to like the end of '97, the beginning of '98, I wasn't collecting comics because of that. And then I found out, my friend had told me, he's like, why don't you go to Bailey's and get the comics? Because we some discussion. I was like, dude, Bailey's burnt down, 4 years ago. He's like, no. He's like, they reopened. He goes, in town. He goes, it's just up the road. And I'm like, really? So I had no idea how long they've been open. But if had I known, I would have went down there and got more stuff. But that's the reason I didn't pick up anything for, 4 years. But anyway, in this, basically, if you watch the Spider-Man cartoon, basically the Vulture in the Spectacular Spider-Man issues, he was depressed that he was old, he was dying, so he tried to commit suicide. And this thing, he came up with a new thing to steal the energy and the youth from people. That's pretty much what happened in here. He sucked out Spider-Man's energy and made him look old. Which is the exact same thing they did on the cartoon, except the Vulture also got his mutation disease, Spider-Man's mutation disease on top of that. So it's interesting. But let me just show you two other ones that I got a chance to read, and then I'll tell you what the new thing I'm doing. Amazing Spider-Man number 296 and 297. I got a chance to read in the emergency room. Basically a pretty cool Doc Ock story. Doc Ock is captured. He's trying to become good, and he's going under therapy and all these things, and as he's doing that, Spider-Man's kind of pissed with his web shooters because he wound up running out of webbing at a crucial moment and messed up his arm and whole big thing. But a pretty cool book nonetheless. Now, it brings me into what I'm doing now to make myself, I guess, things a little easier for me. Not every book, but certain books, like key issue books, anything where a first appearance occurs, or a cameo, or death of character, or an origin, or a new suit, or key issue stuff, like Spider-Man's wedding, things like that. Basically what I'm doing is, here's the comic, obviously. On the back, I put a little sticker going across on the bag, explaining why this is a key issue, basically what's in there. And in this, it's a key issue because Spider-Man designs his new web shooters, and it's from 1988. So now when I go through the comics, I'm like, oh, that looks, looks familiar, and I'll look on the back if it's important enough, and say, oh, all right, that's cool. Which this one I actually have to put a thing on, because this is the one where it actually debuts the new web shooters that he has. And in this, his new web shooter is basically, in the old comics, he would throw his spider tracer, and in this comic he's like, oh, hit or miss, it was luck if I was able to get it. In this new one, it's the first time you see him actually shoot the spider tracer out of the top of his web shooter. As well as with his webbing, he put in a little LED light that'll blink when he is running low on webbing. On top of, now this is the first time he has the cartridges built into his actual web shooter, and he can, when he turns his wrist, turns the cartridges, they automatically load in a new cartridge, so he doesn't have to go fumbling through his his belt to put more in there. So it's like an automatic, turns it, has a new web cartridge. He could still take the cartridge out of his belt and replace the ones he's missed when he's got time, but it's still, one click and he's ready to go. So that was that. And then on this thing, I had put Sorry, this one I had put Spidey reveals his secret identity to his fake parents and Vulture's new costume, and then it's from 1994. So, stuff like that I'm trying to do. Will it work? Who knows? It gives me something to do, I guess, especially with my bad hand, which sucks because now when I was doing it, just before I came up with the idea, I'm right-handed, but now I got to write with my left, and that's a pain in the ass. But anyway, it's been an extremely long video, and I'm kind of glad I got some stuff off my chest there. Didn't mean to bore anybody with this, but maybe I'll give somebody some ideas or whatnot. And one thing I'm going to be doing, which I'm not 100% I'm going to do, but I'm throwing out there as a reminder to myself, in a way. I was looking through, when I did the contest I was looking through my boxes, some comics, and I have a whole box that I'm thinking about trading to anyone in the comic community. So if I decide to do that, I will make a trade video, and obviously I'll label it trade video, and anyone who looks at the video and sees something I like, maybe we can work out a deal on something. I'll let you guys know what I'm looking for in the trade video, and see if anyone has it, and if you want to trade with my stuff, and we'll work it that way. But anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and I really appreciate it. If you like what you see, hit the little like button. It's kind of a depressing video in a way, but it had an uplifting ending, I guess. Anyway, if you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. I appreciate all my new subscribers and those who have stuck around. I'm at 104 now. Very cool. Very cool. Anyway, I'll catch everyone on the next update, which hopefully, if I ever get my damn Midtown comic package, I'll do an update on that. And hopefully, if I'm lucky, I'll be able to get the new comics on Wednesday if by some chance somebody's not sold out. And I'll talk to everyone later. Bye.